us with, how do we fix this? I think the only way that we can fix this is through education.
I've got a different way. Education is, and in my book, I talk about education as one of the prime things always to fix a lot of ills.
Now, what I mean by education is the population around us.
Yeah.
But if you don't think we have a sovereign election system, then that really doesn't do anything anyways.
Doesn't matter. First, we've got the voters. Need to educate them so that they can make educated decisions. There's been a lot of research done on the last election. Most of the people that voted for Trump voted on a more emotional level. I feel like he's the best person, right? The opponent, I think they are the best person. We have this think versus feel thing going on. And we see it a lot when we see the news. People feel this way, they think this way. Technically, it's a dichotomy. Now, if you will accept that if we have people that are educated, that know what's going on, and then you have to look at it and say, is the voting fair? I would say the voting is not. Again, because of gerrymandering and redrawing districts and everything else. Columns of 10. Let's color them all in. We'll make 3 columns blue and 2 columns red. If you just total the votes, who's going to win? The 3 blue column. You've got, 30 to 50, right?
Jungle, hello. Zane, hello. Thank you for being here.
You don't want to show your face online, but you still want to create high quality videos like this. I got you. Let me show you how. This is Polo AI Avatar. You upload a photo, type the script, and
I saw this wonderful thing once where it had 5 columns of 10, and it said, let's color them all in. We'll make 3 columns blue and 2 columns red. If you just total the votes, who's going to win? The 3 blue column. You've got 30 to 50, right? They said, what if we go across and we say, okay, but we're going to vote by county, and each row is a county. Well, if you go by county row, there's 3 blue, 2 red, it votes blue. You tally it up, you've got 10 votes blue. Because that's the way you're. County, and each row is a county. Well, if you go by county, by row, there's 3 blue, 2 red, it votes blue. You tally it up, you've got 10 votes for blue, right? Because that's the way you're. So first it was 30 to 50 if you do a popular. If you go by row, then it's 30. If you go by column, you've had 3 red and 2 blue. Now it's 3 to 2. And then issue, but what if we redraw this like this, and they show this shape. And if you redraw it like that, it comes out 3 to 2 red, even though it's 60% red, 20% blue. So I'm mixing my colors here.
But it's all about how you draw the line. This is what we're going to vote. And it showed how you can redraw the line so that you do not represent the populace. We have that going on. It's all gerrymandering. It happens all the time. Every time somebody's in power, they redraw everything so that they can win the next election. That is anti-democratic. That is not following the principles of democracy. It's following principles of someone in power that wants to maintain power.
A lot of people are doing that.
A lot of people are doing that, without a doubt. If we want to fix, going back a little bit, if you educate people, they should vote more for what they think is right. If they know if they have the information, they can make a more informed decision. And I cover in the book a lot about how they don't get all the right information. So then you have to ask, why don't they have the right information? This goes back to the statistic I said earlier. Whoever spends the most money wins. Why? They get to do the most advertising. They get to do the most marketing. Right? Whoever is influencing your opinion the most is the one that wins. How can we stop that? How about campaign limits? Saying, hey, if you're running a presidential race, you cap out at $20 million. That's all you get. You can't spend $20 million in one. So both of you, assuming that you can raise the same amount, are going to get $20 million. You get an equal shot at convincing Senate, $2 million. Congressman, 500, whatever it is. I don't know what the numbers are. But put a limit. And this would get rid of any one large donor saying, hey, I'm going to give, $1 billion to this candidate. Doesn't matter. They can only spend this much. That gets rid of so many things if we could just do that. We won't, because the only people that can do that is Congress, and they don't want that. Yeah. So your question, what can we do?
And even education.
Even
We discovered it earlier.
Right?
People don't want to believe what doesn't align with whatever they're thinking.
Yeah, they want to be comfortable. Challenging beliefs is not comfortable. It's painful. College is painful because you are learning new things and challenging assumptions and beliefs that you were formed on. That's difficult. Especially as we get older, we're like, I don't want to waste time with that. I already feel this, I'll just keep doing that. But that doesn't lead to a good place. And that's, again, what I'm trying to do is just give people more information, ask the questions, question everything. That should be my tagline, question everything.
Ours is everything is a lie.
Or, well, which many times it is, right? In other countries, are they seeing the same thing we are? I don't think so. Not that I've seen. And again, I'm not an academic. I can only, tell you what I've seen. I haven't seen the same level of influence that we have. Which sort of makes sense, because even if you could have the same level, we're the biggest country.
Mm-hmm.
We have the biggest military. If you want to influence somebody, influence us, right? So it's not unreasonable that the biggest target for influence.
Why do they need our money? If they have enough money to influence.
No, they don't.
hello. Thank you for being here. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. We're following a high-profile case out of Prince William County, the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. It's ongoing for 4 years. Well,
right? I can influence with 1 billion and get 18 to 20 year after year for the next, how many years? By the way, that 18 billion doesn't get paid piecemeal through the year. We give it lump sum, which we does have. So we sell bonds and take on debt in order to be able to give those have. So we sell bonds and take on debt in order to be able to give it to them. It's a crazy, crazy system. And all of the military give and what bothers me is we believe in because I don't want somebody.
It's another question. If why do they need our money? If they have enough money to influence.
No, they don't. No, yeah. It's an ROI equation, right? I can influence with 1 billion and get 18 to 20 year after year for the next, how many years? By the way, that 18 billion doesn't get paid piecemeal through the year. We give it lump sum, which we don't always have. So we sell bonds and take on debt in order to be able to give it to them. It's a crazy, crazy system. And that doesn't include all of the military gear we give. And what bothers me is we believe in democracy. We are a democracy. Well, and just because I don't want somebody coming up and going, no, we're not. We are a democratically elected republic. We don't always act like a democracy, and we don't act like we believe in democracy. I see this most blatantly at the UN. What is a democracy? The greatest good for the greatest number. Whatever the people decide is what we do, right? So we have cases, numerous, over and over and over, especially with Israel, in the UN, where the vote in the UN is unanimous, except for Israel and the United States. So if you think you've got 196 countries voting yes, and Israel and the United States votes no, it would pass. It would be yes. It's 196 to 2. But when we helped write the Charter of the United Nations, we said that anybody on the Security Council, one of them being us, can unilaterally veto anything. So every time a vote comes up, there have been, I don't want to see an exact number, between 50 and 100 resolutions censuring Israel and saying we should do this because they're not behaving well as a country. Every single time the U.S. vetoes it. All the other countries vote for it and we veto it. Like, that's not democracy. How can we say we believe in democracy when we just veto every time what most of the people want? And then it comes back to, okay, I get it. Democracy for us, not for you. Well, if you believe that, then you can't believe that democracy is the best system. So which is it? Is democracy not the best system? Or are we not believing in it and using it the way we should? I happen to believe that democracy is a good system. I believe that people should decide what they want. But you can't say good for me, not for you.
let's talk about how we are the bad guys.
You know, people ask a lot of times, are we the bad guys? Are we always the bad guys? Don't you have anything good to say? Right? And my answer to that is always, what I am trying to do is give the other side of information that you don't have. You've already been told over and over, you're the good guy. You're the good guy, right? It's like the young person whose mom and grandma and aunt all tell them they're the best singer. You are the best singer. You should be professional. And then they go on America's Got Talent and they can't carry a tune at all. And Simon Cowell goes, who told you you could sing? I've always been told I could sing. Yeah, somebody should have told you you can't before you get up here and embarrass yourself, right? We keep telling ourselves we're the good guys, we're the guys, we're the good guys. Maybe somebody should go, you know, not always. Let's look at what we're doing. And again, I've said history will not judge us on our intent. History will judge us on our outcome. Are Americans bad guys? No. American people are caring, loving, good people. They mean well. Is the outcome of what we're doing in the world viewed by the rest of the world as us being the bad guys? Yes. It would be hard to look at what we've done in so many countries and for another country to look at us and go, oh yeah, you did that for the best benefit of everyone. Versus, you know, you may have benefited you, but you screwed everybody else. And then you want to come to us and say, hey, do you want to be our friend? Yeah, I don't trust you. Because from what I just saw, you're going to turn on me as soon as it's not in your best interest. And again, some people will say, well, that's politics. That's just being the big dog and getting along. And you can believe that, and that works for a period of time. But it doesn't work forever. And the empires, the societies that have lasted the longest have learned this and try to be more beneficial to everyone. Rather than not. Romans did a fairly good job. Ottoman Empire, the Persian Empire actually didn't do too badly with that. We're only 250 years old, and we're seeing some big cracks. Mm-hmm. These other empires lasted for thousands of years. I can't imagine us lasting thousands of years operating the same way we operate today. And this gets back to like a business plan, right? Businesses grow and mature and you change. If you don't change, then you become obsolete and you die out. America needs to change. We need to change some things and cannot continue doing the things we're doing today. It's just that easy.
Anti-spell, hello. When do you go to a rest stops? Merwez, thank you for being here. Anti-spell, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. We're picking up an order. I'll be right back. Make sure you watch the videos. Make sure you go on. I did a podcast at 12 o'clock today. Watch the podcast. Leave me questions. Let me know what you think. I'll be right back. I'm back. I am back. All right.
We can see where it's leading. The only question becomes not, do we need to change? The question is, will we choose to change?
Before it's
Or
too
will
late.
change be forced upon us?
Exactly.
Those are the only two
Exactly.
options. It's easier to do the change yourself, but harder to make that decision. So as we're talking about all of this, I think that's where we're at. And I know now, how do you make those changes, right? How do you get people to want to change? I had a gentleman once that was in business, salesman. He said, every salesperson sells the same thing. You sell change. Because everybody's got a way to do something. You're trying to convince them to change to your way of doing something. That's what you're selling. I thought that was an interesting way to look at things. You sell change, right? Every once in a while, a product comes around that everybody thinks they need now that wasn't there before. And you don't need to sell that because everybody just looks at it and goes, I want that. But as soon as they've got it, how do you sell the next one? You have to convince them to change from the first one to the next one, right? People don't want to change. Change is hard. I heard one person say, change is what you want other people to do, not you, right? But this is I think this is a part of our country and our society we need to look strongly at and say, what do we need to do to change? How do we need to change to grow for the next 250 years? Let's fast forward 250 years. What do we need to look like? And again, businesses do this all the time. Markets change quickly, and you've got to pivot. You've got to say, we need to change and do this. Otherwise, we're going to be left in the dust. I think as a country, we need to look at ourselves and say, how do we become what we want to be in the future? Where do we want to be? What do we want to be? We might decide, hey, we're okay being the United States by ourselves. We don't want to be the world's policeman. We don't want to enforce everything. We just want to spy by ourselves, and that's okay. That's what we decide. We may decide we want to be an empire that rules most of the planet, if that's what we decide. But we need to decide and make a logical decision about it, not just blunder into it, and then figure out, what do we need to change to get there?
That sounds impossible.
I will tell you that of the empires I have studied, it has never been done. Empires get change forced upon them because changing internally is just too difficult. That's a sad way to look at it, though. Maybe we can be the first.
What patterns have you seen with regime change with countries that we occupy? And how far back does the pattern go?
Well, regime change is interesting because usually when we say that, there's an external force. Many times the external force is us. We go in and say, we don't like this leader, we don't like what's happening, we're going to help you change. And we force them. We've got the CIA, we've got our economics, we'll help overthrow one leader, we'll kidnap them, and we'll sponsor the next one. you know, and make sure they get in power and they have enough to get situated and get going. Every once in a while you have a regime change that is internally driven. We saw that in 1979 in the Cultural Revolution in Iran, right? What usually happens there is, and you've seen this, you know this, people are so unhappy with the way things are going. They figure, even if we get killed doing it, we're better off than if we just keep living like this. And they start an internal revolution. The problem with internal revolutions is you've got a huge pendulum swing. You know, the country has gotten over to here and people get unhappy. They're like, we need to fight, right? We need to change this. Well, when they change it, the pendulum doesn't come back to the middle. They're like, we need to offset this. So the pendulum swings all the way over here. And now you've got the exact same kind of regime, just the opposite, right? We were very secular, we were very religious, now we're going to be very secular. Rarely does it come back to the middle without some external force. So most of the regime change, mostly, it would be nice if we could put a dampener on that pendulum and kind of say, change is good. Let's dampen how fast we change. And maybe we can settle in the middle a little bit where everybody is happy. The greatest happiness for the greatest number.
At Vistaprint, we know you've got that idea for business, like the trade show or the second location. But once that idea's on signage, giveaways, and apparel, it's so happening. Print your possible with code NEW20 for 20% off your first order at Vistaprint.com.
We ever question where the thrived after Usually that does not translate to money to the populace. It usually translates to money to who have power. I can't think of a single instance where the country as a whole was better off. There are situations similar. You can look at wars where we have defeated somebody in a war. And I remember when I was a kid, I was told at one point in time the best way to rebuild your country is pick a war with the US and lose, because we'll go help rebuild you, right? But I think it would be amazingly arrogant to think country that we were the reason that they then became as successful as they are today. Okay. But that's different than a regime change. We didn't go in and try and just overthrow a government and put a new government in. I think that's a completely different situation. Can you hear me? You're better off?
No.
Yeah, I can't.
Maybe Panama?
I think the Panamanians might have a different view of that. Yeah, I'm thinking around the world. I can't think of any. And again, it goes back to, were we the good guys then? And we come in a lot of times and say, hey, the ruler you have right now, they're a despot. They're a horrible ruler. We want to come in and help you guys. We'll overthrow them. Sounds good. We have all the right intent. But then what we do after that does not help the country as a whole. And again, usually because we just put somebody in power that will do our bidding. And like we talked about earlier, is that just what empires do? Do you want the if the goal is just to grow the empire at any cost, and you don't care what happens to anybody else, then that works. Until it doesn't. Until you need a friend somewhere because you can't do it all alone and there's nobody left.
Yeah.
I want to touch back on if I can, the question you asked earlier, do we have any allies? It's a great question. Because it doesn't seem like we do. And once you come to that realization, and I hadn't thought about it that way until you asked it, but it's been rolling around in my brain here while we're talking. That's like somebody coming and asking you, do you have any friends? And if you answer, no, I don't have any, you kind of have to ask why. Why not? Now, as we get older, people move apart, but you still keep friendships wherever they are, right? It's not like in high school where, hey, this is my best friend, I'm with him every day and everything. But you still have friends. But if you get to the point where you say, I don't have any, then you have to ask, why not? Either I just don't want any, don't think they're important.
You have to self-reflect.
Yeah. And I think that's what we need to do as a country, and I think that's what we need to do as individuals in our country. We need to self-reflect. Look at ourselves in the mirror. Ask the hard questions. Be honest with ourselves.
And I'm with you. The only way that I can see that happening is by trying to bring people together. And that's what I'm trying to do here. But it's not working.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's not fucking working. He's confusing everybody. Sean Ryan on his podcast is confusing everybody. I mean, 1 minute you bring someone completely on their right, and then another podcast you bring someone completely on the left. I mean, I may be well informed, but I'm not that well informed. Well, when you bring me all these people, I'm gonna get confused. That's why it's not working.
They don't want it. They're not ready for it. And
They don't want to compromise.
It's either you're gaslighting the conversation, or, I mean, whatever it is, what you're doing is not working.
Why should I even try?
well, they won't even listen.
Sure.
They won't even listen. And I've brought people on here that I despised before meeting them, but open the floor, open for a civilized discussion, and we got those.
How could you have a civilized discussion when we're funded and bought and purchased by a foreign country, and the country is an occupied nation? How could you have a civilized conversation? What kind of conversation are you really having? That's a good question. These are all good questions. Right? Right.
Everybody hated me for it. And then I did it again.
Good for you.
And I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm ahead of my time, or maybe we'll never arrive at this. But nobody's talking. Nobody's talking.
We talk at each other instead of with each other.
Exactly.
I wrote a small article on pardons that I put on LinkedIn, and at the very bottom, I said, sources welcome. Tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to have the conversation. Not a single reply. No one ever replied to it. I'm like, we shouldn't be afraid of the conversation. We shouldn't be afraid of being wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I don't think any of us has a monopoly on that one. But we shouldn't be afraid of that. And we should welcome the conversations. I love sitting and debating things with people. As long as it's respectful. I'm happy to respectfully have a conversation and debate anything. Tell me I'm wrong. I'll tell you why I don't think I am. You tell me why you think I am. I'll tell you the opposite. But if we can't exchange information, but we've got to be able to do it respectfully, and not just to yell at somebody and go, "Well, you're an idiot," and you're wrong, right? That just shuts down the conversation. Now, what did you learn? You learned nothing, and you're stuck in the same spot you were before. You're doing a great job trying to get information out to people. You can't make them listen. But at least the information is there if they choose to. And slowly, over time, given enough exposure and maybe taking away some of the constant confirmation bias reinforcement where they reinforce their own idea from others that believe the same thing. Maybe they start to question. Unfortunately, to your point, I say too many people that have already made up their mind and all they do is listen to one newscast over and over all day long, 24/7, to get reinforced of the same ideas they already have. And over a day, a week, a month, a year, those ideas become so reinforced. Those pathways become so ingrained in their brain, it's almost impossible to break them.
Now, I don't know. Maybe there is some positivity here. I mean, if I think about, when I'm talking about really any of these interviews, a lot of these interviews get 1 million, 2 million, over that views, plus all the downloads on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I don't read all the I read a handful of the comments every once in a while, and especially when we release one like that, and they are overwhelmingly negative. But maybe there's 50,000 comments on a video that has 2 million views. The loudest person in the room is always the biggest shitbag. And if you look at where we're at, I mean, today we're ranked number 2 on Spotify out of everybody.
That's awesome.
Out of the
Congratulations.
world. So, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that if you look at the comment to view ratio or the comment to download ratio, it's a lot more there's a lot more people listening in not commenting than there are commenting.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there maybe a lot more people, are paying attention than I think.
I think they're listening. I think they are. Like I said, it takes time. We started this whole conversation with, you said, what event caused me to write this book? And I said, there was no one aha event, right? Mm-hmm. It takes time. And I think as people listen, it takes time. But they've got to be exposed to a different form of information over time, and that will slowly make a change. The only question I have is, do we have that much time? I hope we do. I don't think the United States is going to end. I do think we're going to have to change. I think, you asked, are we getting ready for World War III? Is something coming? Change is coming. How does that look? I don't know. And is it going to be a one-time thing? No. Is it going to be like, okay, this changed and now we're done for the next 200 years? No, we're going to continue to change. So I think the dissemination of information is important. It has to be, and one of the first things you want to do if you want to brainwash people or make them think a certain way is just give them one set of information, just yours. Don't allow them to see any other information that refute that.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we get information out, us, others, the other side of the story, everything, the better we are.
And do you think information's going away with
Going
the
away.
rise of AI?
AI is interesting. Do I think it's going away? No.
Maybe not information, truthful.
I don't think AI is the culprit here.
I mean, all they need to do is feed AI. I mean, they feed
Yeah.
AI whatever
Yeah.
data point they want, and then that becomes
It becomes what AI tells you.
that becomes truth.
Yeah.
The customer requested you leave
Just
the
like
order
history.
at their door.
When
Additional
we
instructions are
open it.
provided in
Yeah.
the Dasher
Yeah.
app.
It's interesting. I saw a statistic the other day, and I can't repeat it, but it was an interesting data point where it said it was about YouTube and about film.
$11.70 off for 11.3 miles. 30 minutes total.
All right.
Offer accepted. We'll add it to your route.
And Hollywood. And it said, I'm going to make this up. So anybody listening, do not quote me on this. Something to the effect of, there's more YouTube video being uploaded every day than was created the entire time since film started until 2020, whatever. Interesting. The more interesting part was we have lost more film than is uploaded every day in YouTube. And I'm thinking, really? We have? There's a lot of films that no longer exist. We made them. They were hits in the time. Maybe they weren't digitized yet. Maybe they were just, and there was a fire. We've lost them. They're gone. There's a lot of information in history that has just disappeared. We no longer have.
At Great Wolf Lodge, your whole family can go on an adventure, splash away in our water park, and bowl a perfect score with your pack, and mix game time with family time. And at Great Wolf Lodge, all this excitement is just a short drive away. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
The internet is an interesting thing. Here's a question for you. How many times have you looked on your computer for information you know you have and you can't find it?
A handful.
Yeah. It's like, I know I have this.
Yeah.
You would think that I can put on a search engine or something to find it. I know it's here, but you can't. You can't find it. Somewhere, somehow, something happened. It's gone. There's no way to get that back. And I know when I was studying history at the academy, we used a lot of written information. People write letters. You know, they would survive for a long time, right? We'd find them in diaries or journals or whatnot. We don't have the same thing electronically. We say, hey, we can back it up, we can keep it. That's true. But we tend not to do that. It tends to get lost. I've had, I know I had a video of my daughter when she was, 1 year old. Can't find it. I've looked everywhere. I've tried everything. I'm sure somewhere, someplace it was on one hard drive that crashed and it wasn't backed up in the right place. It's just gone. So we lose information, and when we do that, we lose a vision into how we got here. So AI can only go off what it has, right?
Mm-hmm.
People can remember things even if they can't produce it. AI can't. So I think AI both expands our reach into information and it constricts it to whatever AI knows. Now, AI is an interesting topic. In my courses, I teach students to use AI. It's a tool. Use it. But be careful how you use it, because it will give you wrong answers. And different AI are trained on different language models. They will give you different answers. So you could ask a question. Well, I'll give you an example. Here's a great example. I use AI to do research sometimes, because I can go out and do 50 Google searches to try and find the right document.
Oh, hey, Cole's mom. Remember, no direct eye contact.
But if you disclose it in any way,
different language models. They will give you different answers. So you could ask a question. Well, I'll give you an example. Here's a great example. I use AI to do research sometimes because I can go out and do 50 Google searches to try and find the right document. Or I can just tell AI, I need a document that I know exists. It's about this from around this time. Can you find it? AI goes out and goes, is this it? I'll be like, no, that's not it. Is this it? Okay, yeah, that's. So we were talking about Zionism earlier. I asked AI once, I'm like, what do you think about Zionism? And he goes, I can't answer that because that would be anti-Semitic or something like that. And I'm like, seriously? I said, what if I asked you, and I had a conversation with AI. So what if I asked you about what you think about white supremacy? And it's like, oh, well, that's blah, 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 blah. And it starts going, I'm like, why did you answer this and not that? It's like, well, one is politically charged about, people's religion and the other is not. And I'm like, no, they're not. I said, you're biasing your information and you've got to be careful. AI will do that to you. If you use AI for your information source, you're probably just as bad as just getting it from, one news station.
That's scary.
Here's a trick for you. I teach my students this. There's an old riddle. If you're trapped in a room and there's two doors, one leads to heaven and one leads to hell, and you have two computers. One computer always lies and one computer always tells the truth, but you don't know which one is which, and you don't know which door is which. You can ask one computer one question. How do you figure out which door to go through? Right? It's a logic riddle. And the answer is go to
Ask them what door they're going to go through.
But if you use the computer that lied, it would tell you the wrong thing. If you use the computer that tells the truth, it would tell you the right thing, but you don't know which one is which. So the answer is to go to any door and ask one computer, if you were the other computer, would you tell me that this is the door to heaven? And whatever it answers, it's the opposite. Because you know that you're absolutely negative answer, regardless of which one you picked, right? I tell my students to do this with AI. Ask AI a question, and then go to a different AI and say, is this question correct? Is this answer? I asked this question, got this answer. Is this correct? Is there anything that is not correct in it? Would you say, and maybe even use 3 AI models and see what they say. It'll be amazing how much they might contradict each other and give you a little bit of different answer. So, what does this have to do with how you get people to know more? It's, people are using AI. They can't just ask the question they think they want to know because they might get the wrong answer. And whoever owns the AI is the one that's giving it the information that it wants to get.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. I heard something the other day. Again, I can't recreate it exactly, but somebody asked Grok, who is Elon Musk's AI, who is the biggest threat to American democracy or something like that. And it came back there and it answered Elon Musk. I bet they're going to fix that one on that. That's not going to last very long. Yeah. We need to tweak that model a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Information, you know, we used to say way back in the 80s when I was in the military, information will be the battleground in the future. And we were looking at more as tactically. How do we tactically have enough information to do what we do? I mean, I'll date myself. When I went to the Gulf War, GPS didn't exist. We had no GPS. So, you have maps. Well, a map of a flat desert doesn't do much. It's kind of hard to navigate when everything's just flat. Or topographically, I've got a 5-foot ridge. How can I see that in a helicopter, right? And then today, you know, you've got GPS and tracking, and you've got tips everywhere that tell you where you are. Everybody knows where you are. They can track you. It's different. And we were looking at information as the battleground of the future that way. We were thinking tactically in theater. We can have better information to see what's happening on the ground. We didn't really consider that in the future, information is the battleground for the human mind. How people think, what they think, how they feel about it, and what they're going to do is the battleground. And I use those terms specifically because I taught a course on communication, and I say there's 3 parts to every communication. What do you want people to think? What do you want people to feel? And what do you want people to do? Frequently, we only think about the first one. What do I want them to think? And you give them information. But you have to think more and think, what do I want them to feel about this? Okay, they know this piece of information. Do I want them to feel good about it or bad about it? Indifferent? Which will usually give you different results. I can tell you something. Do I want you to think that's a bad thing or good thing? How do I want you to feel? Then what do I want you to do? If I just gave you information and made you feel good about it or bad about it, what do I want you to do? Because if there's no action, then why bother? Why, if it doesn't change you in any way, then why did we spend that time communicating?
You will spread it around.
What's that?
Spread it around.
It's interesting. I'm gonna go back to the book for a second. What do I want people to think? I want them to think that maybe what they've been told is not the full truth. Maybe there's more to the story that they should know. What do I want them to feel? I want them to feel like maybe they're being lied to. I want them to feel uneasy that, hey, I don't know the whole story. And I'm going to feel bad if I'm saying something and it's not the whole story. I'm going to look like an idiot. And what do I want them to do? I want them to ask questions. Ask questions, do research, find the answers. Make your own decisions, not what somebody else decided they thought you should think. I think that's how we change things.
Do you feel it? That something's off?
This is Propaganda as a Weapon.
The revolutionary audio docuseries.
It's essential for the experiment that you continue.
Hosted by Sean Ryan.
They're called PSYOPs.
Is now available to you for free.
There's no question that it is mind control.
Hear from whistleblowers.
Well, I got a letter from the city.
Wondered who's really pulling the strings. It's time to find out.
Target Podcasts, or watch the enhanced version on YouTube at This Is Ironclad.
When did you see it become dangerous to ask questions?
Oh, you know, even in my time in the Marine Corps, and this was late 80s and 90s, in military, a lot of times don't ask questions. Just take this for the way it is, right? I think that has been that way for a while. I couldn't comment from before I was in. I couldn't comment about when I was out. But yeah, you were not encouraged to ask questions. In the civilian world, I seem to remember early on we were encouraged to ask questions. I seem to remember, even thinking back, even mid-90s, late 90s, we were encouraged to ask questions. Right? Think about what you're doing. Think about why you're doing it. Around 2000s or so is when I started hearing more, don't ask, right? Or it wasn't you were told not to ask. It's you were not treated well if you'd asked.
What were the questions that were forbidden back then?
Back then?
Mm-hmm. In the early 2000s.
Oh.
In my opinion, it's COVID.
You know, COVID was a good one. A lot of controversy around that, right? A lot of different feelings. Quite honestly, 9/11. I was at a dinner the other night and somebody asked me, what do you think about 9/11? Was it a conspiracy? Did it happen the way it was supposed to? You know, what happened? I told him, quite honestly, I don't have an opinion. I can give you my opinions. They are not researched. I don't like giving opinions that are not researched because I could be 180 degrees off. I said the only thing I will say is there's conflicting information. And kind of the same thing with COVID. There is conflicting information.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have feelings? Yeah. Do I think it just spontaneously erupted out in the wild? Yeah, sure. Right? Statistically, not. You know, but do I have any proof? No. There was a lot of misinformation, a lot of urban legend stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad when that happens because there's so many outlandish things being said. They mask things that may have been true. It's really difficult to dig through all of that and figure out what is correct and what isn't. And to some extent, I think it's more difficult to do that than it was in the past. It's hard. And that's why some things I'm like, I can't even form an opinion on that. Because there's conflicting information and I can't find enough other information to make one more reasonable than the other. You start to lean that way as you get more and more information. But I'm like, so far, right? Just don't ask. Getting better at hiding things, in my opinion. So what do you think about COVID?
What do I think about COVID?
Yeah.
And I think that to
plan to release it.
I think I don't know. I think it's a very good possibility.
It's funny about coronavirus, right? And again, connect the dots. First, we heard about SARS, Southeast Asia Respiratory Syndrome. It's a coronavirus. It was not very contagious, but if you got it, it had a high mortality rate. It was dangerous to get, but it was hard. 4 or 5 years later, we have MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, a coronavirus that is amazingly easy to get, but not low mortality rate. It's almost like we bracketed it and said, okay, now we have COVID. Fairly easy to get, fair mortality rate. All we have to do, and we all say, everybody says we're not working on chemical weapons, right? We're not working on chemical weapons. Nobody else is either. Why do you call a virus an increase of function, right? That sounds kind of military to me. And yeah, do I think that all of these just happened? It seems a little weird that they happened in the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then kind of scary though. Even back in the 80s, people asked me, are you worried about nuke?
$6.20 off for 4.8 miles, 20 minutes total. Offer accepted. We'll add it to your route.
Somebody in a suitcase of nuclear material into the US. I'm like, no, I'm not. That would be so difficult with some of our tracking systems and everything. I'm worried about somebody infecting themselves with anthrax, coming over to the US and throwing themselves in the New York water supply or anything else. I mean, once you release something, there's no stopping it. It's Pandora's box. You can't get it back. That's what worries me.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to make